Cincy is very hot. Baylor is very not. How does that come to a head this week on this Locked On College crossover?
You are Locked On College crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, fans. Welcome to this Locked On College crossover edition. I'm Cam Stuart of Locked On Baylor. Jeff Carr of Locked On Bearcats to talk about this Baylor-Cincinnati matchup. It's all brought to you by FanDuel and part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Today, we're going to talk about how these two teams are going in different directions and why Cincinnati is actually the team that Baylor kind of wants to be. We'll break down why that is. And in a quarterback conference that has been so dominated by the signal callers, especially by a guy like Sawyer Robertson, Brendan Sorsby is right there, as good as any of the rest of them. And that's why Cincinnati's in the playoff picture. But does everybody understand that yet? We'll tell you why they will get even more respect. They take down the Bears this weekend. It's the Bears and the Bearcats on this Locked On College crossover. It's all coming up right now. Jeff Carr, vibes are pretty high up there in the Queen City.
Cam, this is a surprising season to say the least. There's a lot of us that came into the year thinking, let's get 6 wins and go to a bowl. Let's see what happens. Well, they've already done that. So it's kind of like now you've got more to do. Like there's still plenty of work to be done, still plenty of games to go. And it's been something that since the beginning of camp, players and coaches alike have said, let's get to Dallas. And back then we were kind of like, oh, that's cute. Look at them. Now we're like, oh, maybe they're onto something.
Maybe they mean this. It is what, 5 in a row, 5 wins in a row,
6 in a row. Cause they lost the first one to Nebraska and they haven't lost since.
6-1 here sit the Cincinnati Bearcats, and the vibes are low down here. Like we don't have a happy medium, Jeff. We don't. Baylor coming off a convincing 6-point loss. It was not as flattering as a 6-point loss would indicate at TCU, and came out super flat after a bye week, and now sit at 4-3. So just like Cincinnati has it all ahead of them, Baylor's like, I don't think we have it ahead of us. I don't think 9 wins is good enough to get you to Arlington this year. I don't think so. So we've kind of got this interesting look at two teams going in very different directions. And I do want to get into why Cincinnati how Cincinnati has turned this around, why they look good. But the prevailing thought I have this week, Jeff, in kind of my wallowing in the mire of Baylor football right now, is when I look at the Cincinnati team and how they're built and kind of the storylines around it as well, I sit there and I think this success Cincinnati's having right now is exactly what Baylor wanted to be this year. Exactly. 6-1 with a good quarterback that's going to elevate you, right? Sorsby in Cincinnati, Sawyer Robertson for Baylor. A well-balanced offense that spreads the love around a ton. 4 different 300-yard receivers for the Bearcats. Like that was Baylor's key to success. A defense that is good enough, not great by many of the metrics, but absolutely good enough that you don't need your offense to be absolutely perfect. And a coach who was on the hot seat, getting himself off the hot seat, like we were hoping for Dave Aranda, and certainly Scott Satterfield has seen that as well. So that's kind of my take on it. This is the team that Baylor wanted to be this year, and there's all kinds of angst that goes with that. But I want to hear it from your breakdown, Jeff. Why is Cincinnati 6-1 right now?
It's continuity. I think that it all boils down to the fact that this coaching staff, the key characters in this, and Brendan Sorsby have all been together now for 2 straight seasons. And the struggles that they went through last year, because Brendan Sorsby was hot at the beginning of the year and then was not at the end of the year. Like it was a tale of 2 halves. I'm seeing evidence to support the fact that that's not going to happen this year. There's been some really good play calling. They follow his strengths, but then there are certain times where it's obvious that they're just kind of letting him roll, and he's rolling really well with it. His deep ball has been a little bit inconsistent over the last couple of weeks, but that's been the thing that's really gotten him going early on. But he's a big rhythm passer, and there's just been so many great play calls with all of that to keep things open up. They do run straight at you sometimes. They do try to do a little bit of finesse and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. they're not trying to throw passes with a running back or nothing. But like last week, there was a perfect play that they called against Oklahoma State where they were starting out an option read to the right, and literally everybody on Oklahoma State's defense went to the right. Sorsby turned around, went left, and pitched it to Cyrus Allen, who was trailing behind him for a nice, easy score. And I just watched that play, and I was like, wow, that is perfect play design by Scott Satterfield, who calls the plays for this team. But it's also the execution and the way that Brendan Sorsby is able to run those calls that I think that everything flowing together. It's not just one thing. It's the continuity of the whole staying together and moving in one direction for multiple years now.
That's another part about Baylor that I keep bringing it back here, but like you've got the same, like most teams in the country would kill to bring back a quarterback like a Brendan Sorsby at this point, but like a Sawyer Robertson in preseason too. And I mean, I'll keep Sorsby for the next segment because I have such great thoughts about him. But looking at it from Cincinnati's standpoint, from your standpoint here, you're coming off a lopsided win against Oklahoma State. Baylor plays poorly and has a lopsided win against Oklahoma State, right? It's not much to write home about. But when you look at this next game at Baylor and a team that's reeling, is that the way you see it, or do you see a team that's still pretty good offensively?
I see a team that is very comparable to what Kansas presented against Cincinnati a couple of weeks ago. And Kansas scored at will against the Cincinnati defense. And a lot of it had to do with Jalen Daniels' ability to sling it down the field. And I kind of think Sawyer Robertson's got that same ability. And there's going to be some interesting scores in this game. That's why I don't have a good feeling about the 5.5 point spread, or at least the last I saw on FanDuel, they had it at 5.5. Like I was a little bit hesitant on the 3-score point spread that they had against Oklahoma State. And obviously they covered that, but they covered that because their defense forced turnovers. That was their first interception this year, Cam.
I get that. I actually feel that. Yeah.
And any before that. And then Matthew McDoom picks one off on the goal line, runs it all the way back for a touchdown. So like, I think that there's this weird part of, okay, is Oklahoma State in that same category that Northwestern State was, in that they're so bad it's really hard to take anything away from it? And all due respect to our friend Cody over at Locked On Oklahoma State, that's a bad ball team there.
He'll tell you that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to take a lot away from it. So I hope that the turnovers continue, because the one thing that scares me in this game, because you're talking a lot about Brendan Sorsby, Sawyer Robertson scares me, because this defense wants to stay back in zone. They want to let you throw 5 and 7 yard passes and then make your own mistakes. And then they get off the field because you just don't catch a ball. But they also are a little bit vulnerable there on the back end as well. And you can kind of get past them and throw some deep balls if you've got a guy that can really pinpoint that pass. And kind of feel like Sawyer Robinson's one of them guys.
Could be. I want to talk about the quarterbacks in just a second here, but one last question I have for you. Feels like my guest, sorry. But like my last question for you in this topic is, again, kind of the directions these teams are going. I think back to the last time I really felt happy watching Baylor football, and that was January 1st, 2022. And I was in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl. They had just won the Big 12. And the night before, I'm watching some college football, and I'm watching the Cincinnati Bearcats. Is this the best it's been, the best it's felt around this program since 2021?
Without a doubt. When they beat Iowa State a couple of weeks ago, they rushed the field, and that was not – I don't think that was disingenuous. I think there's just a feeling around this team now that as much as we didn't know what to expect coming into the year, we are now thinking – there's a lot to this team, and there's a lot that they could accomplish. Let's just relish every moment of it, because these last 2 years have just been so horrible as far as the team underperforming and not getting where they need to be. And I get, brand new conference. You're the new kid in town. Obviously, your roster's not set up for this just yet. But the fact that they've gone from, not even bowl eligible to now we're talking about a chance at a conference championship and a really outside shot at making that expanded college football playoff field. Like that is such a crazy jump that I think fans are still just kind of like, woo, let's go. I mean, we're here, but where's here? And are we here? We might not be here yet. I think we're still getting there.
That sounds like just another year in the Big 12. welcome.
Yeah.
Really welcome now.
It's good to be here.
Oh, man. Another great part of the Big 12, of course, are the signal callers. And these two quarterbacks are two of the best in this conference. So who has the edge this weekend? Let's talk about it next on this Locked On College crossover. Today's episode of this crossover edition is brought to you by Quo, formerly Open Phone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money you leave on the table. And when every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. If you're missing that call, you're missing that money. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or your computer. So no more landline, no more carrying two phones. I'm looking at you, Schefter. I'm looking at you, Tony Soprano. Okay, you don't need it with Quo. It lets your team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts, just like a shared inbox, so no customer gets left hanging. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly Open Phone. Get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College. You can even keep your existing number for free. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. You know that the NFL season is here, but what you don't know is that there's an unbelievable offer that you don't want to miss from our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting on your Sundays. And whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, that's FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app today and get started. Back here on this Locked On College crossover, no breaks, as always. Cam Stuart, Jeff Carr of Locked On Bearcats to join for this Baylor Cincinnati preview. And Jeff, it feels like I start every Big 12 game with this conversation, but when you look at the personnel on these two teams, it's tough to not just start with the quarterbacks here.
Yeah, that's the thing that I've loved about how Scott Satterfield getting Brendan Sorsby and even some of the guys that they're going to have, I think, for years to come at the quarterback position. Like, it seems as though he got that very quickly. It was like, we got to get somebody in here that is a very adept passer because everybody else in this league has that guy. And Brendan Sorsby has really become that guy where it felt like he was a rhythm passer last year. And he's still a little bit of that. But the moment he gets in rhythm, everything else opens up and he kind of evolves to that next level of passer. He's got a good skill set group around him as well. But overall, I mean, he's really taken a step forward in his game. I think he still has less than 2% of his throws are turnover worthy, at least according to the folks with the analytics. So it's not just that he makes the good plays, it's that all of his plays are the smart plays.
Never makes the bad plays. That's even better than the good plays. And it might be easy to forget for those who are just tuning into Cincinnati now. In that first game against Nebraska, he had as many completions as he had rushing attempts, which is it's just unfathomable to think, a few weeks later, it was 388 through the air against Kansas. I mean, that is nuts. And this is not going to be the toughest competition that Brendan Sorsby plays this year.
It's an interesting gauntlet that they're entering into, beginning with Baylor, and then they've got Utah, and then they play Arizona, and then they've got BYU. The next 4 weeks are just a lot.
This is the week that the offense can just keep it in second gear. The next 3 for you guys, we're going in the same thing. We're top 40 defenses after this, but this could be the last kind of shootout we see. And what is fascinating is this is not the first time that Baylor has faced a quarterback from Denton, Texas this year. And if you had told me 2 years ago that in 2025, far and away, the best quarterback from Denton, Texas in college football was going to be the kid that was 1-6 at Indiana and not Jackson Arnold, I would have been like, what are we talking about here? I don't even know. Now you look and you think, how do you go 1-6 at Indiana? It's like being 1-6 at Ohio State at this point. But Sorsby is so for real, man. And he's fun to watch. Like that is a kid who definitely, kind of like Jalen Daniels at Kansas as well, like definitely took to the whole chip on the shoulder thing. Like Sawyer Robertson and Josh Hoover probably do think like that, but they don't show it. Brendan Sorsby shows it, man. That kid's a gamer, and this is a heck of a matchup because Sawyer is coming off probably his worst game as a starter at Baylor. You can go back to some of the early days that he played in, kind of in relief for Blake Shapen in that awful 2023 season. But really 25 of 52 with 3 picks, one of them being in a Hail Mary attempt, is not great. So I'm guessing a bounce back performance is coming from Sawyer Robertson. And famous last words, because I said it last week and it technically ended up being true, but I don't see a way where these two teams don't end up in the 30s.
Like, they've got the over under at 67.5. They're thinking it's going to be a barn burner. Like, and I have a hard time taking the under on that. Like, I was even thinking it'd be the under against Oklahoma State just because I didn't think Oklahoma State would score enough. And yet the Bearcats scored enough for both of them to the point that they pretty much pushed the over themselves. I don't think that happens to this one. I think it's going to be a combined effort to get to that over, because I think you're right. I think that there's an element of this that after last week against TCU, the entire Baylor team, not just Sawyer Robertson, is going to be like, dude, we got to prove that we're no slouch here. And I think this is going to be a fight. Like, UC allows a lot of yards, and you can move between the 20s fairly easy against the Bearcats. It's when you get to the red zone that's going to be the hard part. But at the same time, like, they're also not the best at getting off the field on 3rd and 4th down. Like, 3rd and 4th down success rate's almost 40% allowed by this Bearcats defense. So that's going to be the interesting area between that and the coverage. Like, can Sawyer Robinson pull out a couple of big plays and then pull out a couple of key plays in the red zone? That's what's going to keep this as close as I think it's going to be. Like, I just don't see the Bearcats covering in this game.
And for as brutal as it was last week, Baylor still got some legit red zone targets. The run game has not been there this year the way it was last year, and your number one guy is still battling an injury. But talk about Michael Trigg at tight end, 6'4", freak athlete. Josh Cameron, your ex-receiver, who could just come down with anything. Those are still 2 legit red zone threats. And that might end up being the difference, because I don't think Cincinnati is going to want for points in this game, okay? Baylor's defense is bad. And Scott Satterfield, ever the politician, talking this week about how he can't understand why Baylor's giving up so many yards on defense. They look so good, and Dave Aranda is this genius. And bottom line is they are 119th in the country in stop rate, which is really what it boils down to when it's defense. I mean, stop rate basically takes into account anything that doesn't end in points or kneel downs, like what's the percentage of your drives that end those ways. Baylor's terrible at it. 119th. UMass is ahead of them. So that's a brutal place to be. Cincinnati's defense, you just mentioned it. It's a bend but don't break, right? It's certainly in a better spot than Baylor's is, but you talked about it in the first segment a little bit. There's some vulnerability at the back.
Yes, they play a soft zone to the point that they're betting that your guys are going to drop a key pass. And now that happened a couple of times against Oklahoma State. There were also a couple of key passes to Sam Jackson, the 5th, their 3rd-string quarterback, just wasn't going to throw and make a completion on. And so they were able to succeed in a couple of key 3rd and 4th downs. But also, like, I think back, and I just really think this game is going to be similar to the Kansas game, in that I think Baylor's going to score plenty. It's just going to come down to Brendan Sorsby at the end, and the Bearcats will end up – I think they end up winning by 4 in this game. That's why 5.5 feels a little rich for me, and I'm just not going to touch that one because I don't bet against the Bearcats, that's for sure. Even when they were bad, I don't do that. I don't like to bet against my teams. That's just not something I do.
Yeah, yeah. There's a Cincinnati angle I could do here. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Right. But I think that, like, when it comes to the way that they drop back in the zone, it's going to be about how Sawyer Robertson can kind of extend the play. Can he pull guys out of their area? Can he force holes to open up where there shouldn't be any? And like you mentioned, 6'4" tight end and Trigg, that's going to be somebody that they're just going to have a hard time covering whenever they only need to get 5 or 6 yards. And there's a lot of times that they can see that anyway. Like if it's a 3rd and 6, they're going to be sitting on the 6 yard, like they're going to give them 6 yards of separation. So can they get yak? Is that going to be something that Baylor's able to do? And if Baylor can break some tackles in this game, that's going to be key, because the Bearcats are pretty good at that tackling game. They're able to bring guys down. But if you can force that to be an issue for them, then that's really where you're going to get up on this defense quickly.
Tackles are cool. I wish my team would get some someday. Would do some.
Hey, I watch the Bengals. The Bengals don't do it, so we kind of get the best of, or the worst of one and the best of the other.
Sure. Thankfully, the Patriots have turned it around, so it's less 0-2 weekends for me. But that's not what this podcast is about. What we are going to talk about is we're going to channel our inner Aretha Franklin. Is respect on the line in this game on Saturday, and does the winner get firmly in the Big 12 championship picture? For some of us, again, let's talk about it next on this Locked On College crossover. But first, how about Mazda? Man, they're proud to sponsor today's show. I just know they are, because they craft cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. More IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. From footwork to breath work, our athletes, our Baylor Bears, our Cincinnati Bearcats, sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model. And that all-wheel drive, standard in every crossover SUV. So you can drive with confidence through almost any season. And you can make everyday drives feel like anything but. Smooth handling, intuitive controls, it's all there. Like our Bears, like our Bearcats, Mazda sweats every detail. Because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Back here on this Locked On College crossover, Jeff Carr, Locked On Bearcats, Cam Stuart, Locked On Baylor. And you had mentioned that, peeling back the curtain a little bit, you had mentioned this to me before the show, and it kind of surprised me a little bit, Jeff. But you're still thinking about how the Bearcats can earn some respect here.
Yeah, because I think that there's a feeling that the Bearcats are the guy that showed up to the party with the Taco 12-pack. Like, you like that guy. You think he's cool. But you're also really not sure why it's a Taco 12-pack. You're not sure if it's for real. You're not sure if this guy knows what he's doing. And I think that the Texas Techs of the world, the Utahs, the BYUs, everybody's kind of looking at the Bearcats like, all right, you're fun and all, and you got that Sorsby guy. And what do we make of this? What do you guys really have to offer? And I feel like Baylor is a chance for them to gain some more respect. But I'm curious of your perspective on this, because here in Cincinnati, we are like really pleasantly surprised at how successful this year has been. And now it is a matter of, okay, how are we viewed in terms of the Big 12? Because it still kind of feels as though we're like the plucky underdog of like, yeah, eventually they're going to fall off.
Yeah, I was surprised by the question initially, because I'm like, really? Like, Cincinnati's sitting here at 6-1, and they're asking if we've got the respect. And I get it, right? Tech has been the story. BYU is undefeated. Arizona State just beats Tech. They're the defending Big 12 champs. And, it's Cincinnati, people are still like, oh, yeah, they're here. Like, they're in this thing, right?
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I think the respect has to be there if it's not already. And certainly more of it will come if they beat Baylor. But I don't know if any team, I mean, BYU's undefeated, so I'm kind of keeping them away from this. I don't know if any team benefited more from that Tech loss last weekend than Cincinnati. Like, I got to imagine Cincinnati fans looking there like, the door's open. Like, the door is open here to make a real run at this thing. And BYU over the next 2 weeks, they go to Ames, they go to Lubbock. Like, door is open here for someone outside of those teams. I think Cincinnati's better than Arizona State. So like that becomes kind of an open door. So I think the respect should be there personally. And I love the guy with the Taco 12-pack at the party. Like, if he's supposed to be there or not, like, Baylor right now is the guy who's usually pretty fun at the party, like pretty good guy to have there, but he's going through some relationship issues. And he's just not all the way there, and you don't know if he's going to have a meltdown at some point during the party.
He's the guy that showed up with the Natter days is what you're saying.
Yes, man. I could throw a couple of those back in the day. And usually, kind of slept on life of the party, but now it's like, oh, I forgot. He's here. He's just not all the way with us. We should maybe gravitate towards Taco 12-pack guy. I think that's the setup right now. Like the brothers have left OU and UT. They're gone, right? They're not asking anybody at the door who they know here. It's a pretty open party here in the Big 12. It's just that Cincinnati is raising that rep up here. But yeah, I think the respect should be there because I think they have just as good a chance as anybody not named Texas Tech to win the Big 12 right now, which is high praise.
It's true because, I mean, Tech's not on the Bearcats schedule, and there's a chance here, and low-key I'm rooting for BYU the next couple of weeks because you're right, BYU can knock Tech out of it the week before, or I can't remember if they face Tech before they come, or the week before, or 2 weeks before they come to Cincinnati, but BYU comes to Cincinnati in the middle of November, and so that's going to be a massive game that could set up as the only 2 undefeated teams left in the conference. And that's going to be a lot of fun to think about. And hopefully we get there. And obviously there's still a couple of weeks in between then for both teams. And we know how this conference goes, or at least the way it's been the last couple of years. The team that you expect this week to be at the top might not be there in a couple of weeks. So there's definitely a lot of respect that UC has to give their own schedule. But to their point, that's what they're saying. In every press conference and every interview, they're all saying, look, we're trying to go 1-0 next week. We don't care about the week after that. We don't care about 3 weeks down the road. We care about Baylor and what we can do to beat Baylor. And then we'll worry about everything else after Baylor. And so I'm like, you know what? That's all I need to hear watching this team, because where they're at, where they've been, and where we expected them to be are just so many different places that right now the focus on the now has to be the key thing. And I'm so glad that it is, because look, the Taco 12-pack thing comes from experience. I was that guy. And then I was given a list whenever I would show up to parties after that, because they're like, hey, it's nice, but like we already have tacos. So
we actually really could go for some pizza this week, Jeff.
Can you bring in like this or that? And so I'm like, you know what?
We're actually short on
get
cups.
that. I'll bring that. I'll take it. So that's kind of where I'm like, all right, now how do they move forward from here? Because you've done the initial part of getting in the door. You're in the door. Can you stick around for a little bit longer?
I like this. I like the Taco 12-pack analogy too. I think it's great. And I love the fact that it's going to take beating Baylor to get some real respect in this conference. I like that line of thought, like the Baylor bump, so to speak. Once you beat those guys, man, there you go. I gotta bring up one more thing here. And that is where I don't know if Cincinnati's going to win the Big 12 championship this year, but where they, I think, are head and shoulders above everybody else in the Big 12 is this whole Big 3 thing. I don't know if you've ever done this exercise, but it's you take a college and you look at their best pro athlete in football, basketball, baseball. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody touches Cincinnati.
That's a fair point.
Possibly the second best tight end ever.
Yeah.
You talk about
I'm about to be married to Taylor Swift too.
Yes. The one guy for decades that was the last guy to average a triple-double for the whole season in the NBA. Oscar Robertson, one of the all-time greats. And people forget, we're both big baseball guys. You can't have any conversation about the greatest pitchers of all time without Cincinnati Bearcat Sandy Koufax. So is that the best one in the Big 12? I've kind of put you on the spot here, but I think
I mean, you got two Hall of Fame, two like front of the Hall. Right. Like you've got the front of the Hall of Famers there in baseball and basketball. And then you've got probably a surefire Hall of Famer for the NFL at this point. No doubt. Like, I don't know what he has to do if he hasn't already done it to prove that. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that'd be a hard 3 to beat. There's definitely a lot of guys out there on specific sports, but all 3 of them, man, that's a tough one.
Yeah. If we open it up to perhaps women's sports as well, Tech can throw Patrick Mahomes and Cheryl Swoops at you.
True.
I don't know who the Dallas Braden threw a perfect game, right? I don't know.
I can mess around and say, who is Pat Mahomes without Travis Kelce?
It's a good point. You can't get to the Tech trio without the Cincinnati trio. And since you're here and we've expanded it to all gender sports here, I'm gonna go Hall of Famer Mike Singletary, Brittany Griner, one of the great college basketball players of all time, and the guy with the lowest B WAR in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and Ted Lyons, who is the only member of the Southwest Conference ever to make the Hall of Fame. Shout out to you, Roger Clemens. You're not in. So Ted Lyons is the only Southwest Conference guy to get in the Hall of Fame. And I don't know who Arizona State would be for football because they've got Harden in basketball and take your pick in baseball. Bonds would probably be the pick, but don't know who their greatest football player is.
It's far too early to say it's Cam. That's for sure.
That would be a heck of a ride. Hey, we've gotten way off topic here, Jeff. I really appreciate you combining for this Locked On College crossover. And for those listening, thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. Whichever one isn't your first show, is your first show, make the other one your second show. There we go. To get prepped for this game. And let us know your score predictions. Let us know in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to these channels. We're bringing you nothing but great Big 12 content from two corners of this great conference. For Jeff Carr of Locked On Bearcats, I'm Cam Stuart of Locked On Baylor. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you on the next edition of this Locked On College crossover.